TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. It is a Tuesday. What is this? This is August the 20th already. College football starts this weekend. Major League Baseball going on today. Hey Jay Barry, how are you? And thank you for the question. Jay asked me to talk about the Baltimore Orioles game today, so we'll talk about that one in just a minute. But breaking news, sort of. I don't know if it's really breaking news, but it wasn't something that I had planned. But a lot of times I go over the lines and the movements and stuff right before the show because stuff happens. And I'm looking at these numbers, and then let me pull this back over here. So 9:51, 9:52. Game starts at 6:40. This is Arizona and Miami today. It opened at 160 earlier today. It was in the 140 range. It is circa 118, bookmaker 120, South Point 121, Superbook 118, Bet Online 122. I looked at down here in Florida, I can only get certain things, so my number is 130 on the game. When I made my number for this game, I think my number was right around that 160 opening number. Let me see, make sure. Yeah, it's 161. So when stuff like this happens, they're just saying, "Hey, go buy me." So breaking news is that you can't pass up 120 to 130 on the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Miami Marlins today. I get it. People buy or sell or do whatever they do, or they're buying the Marlins here. But I looked. I want to make sure we don't have any issues going on, and the Diamondbacks don't have Marte in the lineup, but that's because he's hurt, and he's a key cog, but he's the only one that's not in the lineup. They are throwing Rodriguez today, and guess what? Rodriguez is a left-handed pitcher, and that makes a big deal when you're playing the Marlins. The Marlins, I think, let me make sure I get the right number, because it's an astronomical number, and if I say it wrong, you won't believe me. So if I go back over here and I look at my situational report, the Marlins have played 42 games against left-handed pitchers, 42. They've only won 9 times. 9. They're 9-33 against left-handed pitching. Now, I looked at this game earlier, and I didn't like it at minus 160. I didn't really like it at minus 140. But at minus 130, minus 120, you're getting them on sale, and at a big price on sale. So I do like the idea that this works this way. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, how you doing, man? Welcome in. Thanks for chiming in and saying hello. Guys, if you don't know, I don't know if you guys can see the comments or not on the show. So a lot of times people are chime in and say stuff and do things. Hopefully you can see them. If you can't see them, that's why I'm repeating them out. So, but it's important. Like the more we engage, the more we talk. I think that goes a long way for helping the show grow. So anyway, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Jay. And when I looked at this game, I looked at it earlier, and I'm like, there's a lot of positives here. The positives are the Diamondbacks in the last 20 games are 15-5, and I know that they didn't do well against the Rays, but they're 15-5, and the Marlins are 7-13 in their last 20 games. And when you talk about the last 10 games, the Diamondbacks are still 7-3 in their last 10 games, and the Marlins are 3-7. What I didn't like about it at the price point that it originally was is the pitcher for the Marlins today, Cabrera. He's sort of found his groove now that he's back from the disabled. He's pitching pretty well. And I didn't like it at that minus 160, minus 140, minus 150 kind of number. But when you're talking minus 120, if you can get it at 120, man, you got to play it. If you can get it at 130 or less, I think you got to play it because it shouldn't be that low. It should be much higher. You're talking about the Diamondbacks who are doing everything they can to make the playoffs. They're in them right now, but they got to stay there. And you're talking about a team like the Marlins who are just trying to, come October 1st or whatever date it is that they do all the call-ups and get all these other players. They're just milking down the time. So there's a ton of incentive. This is the third start for Eduardo Rodriguez off the disabled list. So we'll see how he does this game. But he's left-handed, and that was the big deal. Being a lefty and starting this game that way, I think is where the big issue comes in. So yeah, I wasn't planning on talking about this game, but that's what happens, and that's what happens, and you've got to be ready to react to when the market puts things at a point where there's an overreaction. If Marte's not in the lineup, that doesn't mean that it's 10 to 15 cents off. I mean, he's a valuable player, but he's not that valuable a player. A 10 to 15 cents line change is a starting pitcher that's really good. That's not in there anymore. That's a big difference. Not the Marte move, right? So when you think about it and you kind of start thinking about, well, what's going on here, I think that you got to look at that and go, man, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So Corbin Carroll's leading off. I'm just going through it right this second. Corbin Carroll's leading off. Perdomo's batting second. Okay, well, I don't like Perdomo, but at the same time I don't like Perdomo, he's batting 280, and in Major League Baseball, 240 league average, and his OPS number is 703, which isn't the greatest, but he's at least in the 700s. So that's important. And then he's followed by Peterson. Well, if you haven't been following the Diamondbacks, Peterson's been awesome. He only plays when they have a right-handed pitcher, but he's batting 290, and his OPS is 956. So that's what you're looking for is a nine, anything over 800, and he's a 956. So that's really good. And Bell, since he's been moved to the Diamondbacks, has been great. He's batting 238 with a 715 OPS, but in his last, if I click on him, maybe I can get that number. In his last, say, few games, in his last 7 games, it hasn't been too great, but say the last 15 games, he's got 7 RBIs and he's got 13 hits. So his they don't have my OPS on here, do they? Well, I can add it up real quick. That's a 7. It's over 700 in his last 15 games with the Diamondbacks. So that's pretty good for him. And Eugenio Suarez has been great. Gurriel's playing. McCarthy's been super good for that team. So I think when you think about who is playing, they're trying to win these games, and they can't play a guy that's hurt. So that's where Marte is not in the game, and he's not listed on the bench either. So that must mean they put him on the disabled list. So he's out for 10 days. So this is the best lineup they can put out there. That doesn't mean that they're only minus 120 favorites against the Marlins. I mean, come on. So I think that's one of those spots where you watch things happen, and when they happen right in front of you like that, you react to them and you go, bang, let's go. That's one of those spots that just happens. So anyway, kind of excited about having that opportunity just pop up like that. As we were coming on, I was making that bet, so I want to make sure that you guys kind of know what I see and what happens there. So anyway, so in today's schedule slate of games, what I wanted to do, and yesterday there was, I think, 9 games. Today there's a full slate. So what Where is my thing? So yesterday, when I was looking at this stuff, I put down for my guys on that are customers, clients, whatever. I didn't give them a bet for baseball. I said, a quick rundown for today. Arizona is a dominant starter versus a bad team. Although I just went through all the games, and the reality is, and I started watching the games. They were kind of pick and choose one and all, kind of down through there. And you're going to run into these kind of formatted games from now until the end of the season. So being more selective on these games from here on out is going to be important. So when I say more selective, it means knowing for sure. I shouldn't say for sure, it's the wrong word. Knowing with good conviction that you have a good bet and you need to make it versus forcing something that feels okay, but okay, don't do that anymore. Don't be making these bets down here. Like, and I saw a lot of Twitter stuff yesterday about like with the Houston Astros and the Red Sox game. That came down to a walk-off home run at the end of the game. Those are coin flips. You're going to see a lot of that kind of weird stuff and a lot of kind of coin flippish type games that it's very you might win. You might win your coin flip, but at the same time, you might be on the backside of that walk-off home run. What I'm trying to tell you is be way more selective onto where things are, and I've got a game for you that way. I don't know if you will be able to play it on the show. I played it early today, so and the line's gone way up. So, but I want to explain kind of what that looks like, so that hey, this is that spot to bet, and some of these other spots are spots to pass. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit. So let's go to where's my breakdown on these games. Lines. I swear I got so many damn windows open. All right, so we just hit that Marlins game, and I thought that was kind of interesting that the numbers changed as dramatically and as aggressively as they did. So for example, here's a game that we can talk about for just a brief second. Colorado plays Washington today. Colorado's not going to make the playoffs, and neither is Washington. Gomber's on the mound for Colorado, and Hers is on the mound for Washington. What's the incentive for either one of these two teams to win this game? Well, theoretically, there isn't one. So when I look at a game like that, and then the opening number was minus 150. My number's minus 154. When I originally looked at the game this morning, it was minus 140 for Washington. Now it's been bet up to 157, 160 in that range. I sit here and I go, why do you even bother with this? Because you don't know, say it this way, the inconsistency of these teams in what they're doing has positioned them to the point where they're not going to make the playoffs. They don't really care about winning these games. They're not trying to save a manager's butt. Sure, they're trying to score runs and do different things and all that kind of stuff, but they're going to play again tomorrow, and they don't care who wins today, right? Because there's no implication of that one way or the other. So when you start to break it down and you kind of look at it, that's a game that I just automatically go trash can. I don't even want to look at it because it's a minus 150 number, and I got to pay on a favorite, or I'm paying the underdog, one of the two, and I don't look at it that way. Now, can you go look at a game like this and go, let's play a total? Sure you can. These are spots where you can certainly play totals. And in a lot of ways, when the teams aren't really trying to necessarily care who wins, they're a little more relaxed in the atmosphere of the game. And a lot of times they can score more runs. So, kind of think overages in those kind of spots. So this game opened as a 8.5. Its total's an 8 right now. My total that I had on this game in this particular spot is Colorado 4.5, Washington 5.5, so 10 runs. So it certainly could end up being an over, and I can see it being an over because nobody cares. So those are one of the steps I think that when you hit the middle of August, there's 30 some games left. I think the call-up season maybe September 1st. You're going to have all these guys playing games that you never heard of and you never seen before, and you're going to have to try to handicap who they are and what their team's values and strengths are. It's just better not to, because the variance in play is so much, and so that's kind of one of those things where you run into that. So here's a spot too, right? The Yankees game today. I'm looking at the Yankees and the Guardians here, and my number's pretty big, and the reason my number's pretty big, I've got the Yankees at minus 200, and I think the actual number is Yankees are it's opened at 165. Earlier this morning it was 155. Right now it looks like it's like 140. Where are they? There they are. 145 at Circa, 150 at Bookmaker, 155 DraftKings. So we'll say it's 150. Okay, so you're betting 150. So I'm looking at that going, okay, my number says 200, 150. Okay, I'm okay with that. And then I started breaking down the pitchers, and this is Boyd's second start. Now he was good in his first start, and he was good in his ramp up starts. So there's no reason to think he's not going to be halfway decent today. And then Heel, who's pitching for the Yankees, is off of a bad start. But when I looked at where he was at on the mound today, switch this over to starting pitchers. There we are. He's got average metrics, and he's got a high strikeout rate, but his walk rate is 5.12 per 9 innings. He's putting guys on base like crazy. His whip rate's 1.5. Well, if you know how Cleveland wins games, they have efficiency on offense. It's death by paper cut. They get guys on, they move them over, and then they have a couple of hits here and there, and all of a sudden they got 3 runs. So I didn't like the shutdown ability of Heel. Heel is also at a point where he's sort of hit an innings issue for this year versus what he had last year. So he might be at that stretch where, we're in no man's land with what to expect from him. So I'm not paying 150. I'm not going to pay the other side, because ultimately, again, when these guys make their starts, they're going to have one good start, one bad start, and one start where it's an average start. I don't know what Boyd's going to do today. My guess would be it's going to be average to below average. But the Yankees in terms of offense currently are in the middle of the pack. They're 15th. And just so you know, there's not many offenses that are going bonkers right now. Most of these teams have left their bats in the bat bag. So the Yankees are 15th in offense, and they're -2 weighted runs created plus. But Cleveland's even worse. Cleveland's terrible. 29 out of 30 teams. So I thought, well, maybe I can get a first 5 out of this, and look at it. And then my score mechanism gets broke when the pitcher only has thrown one start, so that doesn't really help me at all. So I decided, okay, well, this isn't a good spot either. So I passed on that spot. And then you have one of the comments I made to my guys yesterday. Gausman was pitching for Toronto against Cincinnati, and I don't care who's pitching for Cincinnati; it doesn't matter. You got to understand. Cincinnati's a 500-ish team. Toronto is a below 500-ish team by quite a bit. That they match up more to the Angels than they do to a 500 team. So if Cincinnati's playing the Angels on the road, do you think the Angels are going to be -150? That's what they were yesterday. And I said, there's no way that the Toronto Blue Jays can be minus 150 over anybody except for like the White Sox or the Rockies or somebody. That's where the Blue Jays are. And then today you have Barrios and Spears today, and Toronto was 135 this morning, and it's still too high. That's no good. Now, what I will say that kind of turned me off of saying, hey, let's go bet on Cincinnati, is Spears hasn't been as good as he had been. So Spears is in that spot where, if I look him up here for a second, he's at a deficit on SOPS plus. So in the last 28 days, he's a 122. So he's 22% worse than average at controlling an opponent's offense. And Barrios is much better than his last time. He's an 87. So he's 13% better than an average pitcher. So that kind of thing says, okay, I need the pitchers to at least be even and then have the offense take over. Well, it's not that way in this spot. Barrios is actually pitching better, and Barrios has made 25 starts, won 16 of them. He's the only guy in the Blue Jays rotation that's actually winning baseball games, even though his effectiveness as a pitcher is one of the worst ones you'll see. He's, like in the past, he's probably been a 3 or 4 WAR pitcher. He's not even a 1. I don't even think he's earned a half yet. That's how bad he's been for the whole season. He's not very good, guys. I mean, like, he's got a name that people know, and he came from the Twins and, and all this stuff, and he's high profile and all that stuff. But he's not been good. And a lot of times you can bet against him and make some money. Of course, now I sit here and say he's 16-9, so you could have done it 9 times. But I don't think this is a great spot. I don't mind anybody that wants to take a shot with Cincinnati, because there's no way. My number is Cincinnati actually being favored. It's my number. Spears rates just the same as Barrios does in a WAR structure. And then when you think about where Cincinnati is, they're a 500 team, 500, and then 440 is where the Blue Jays are. So where the Angels are. The Oakland A's have passed the Angels. They've been ahead of the White Sox. They just passed the Angels, and theoretically, in my numbers, they've passed then the Blue Jays because they're about the same. So that kind of gives you where I think the Blue Jays are. So maybe I've undervalued them to some people's mind, but I look at it like, the Blue Jays aren't very good, and you need Guerrero Jr. to be on fire to be betting that team. And he's not right now. He's hitting, but he's not on fire hitting. So I just passed on that one. So let's talk about Jay Barry's one. Jay Barry wanted to know about Baltimore and the New York Mets, and I have this listed down on my sheet as okay, this is a possibility of a play, and then I scratched through it. Now let me explain how this works. So when I look at them and I start going, the first thing I do is look at my numbers in my Webby odds, right? So when I pull this up and we'll refresh it so we have the most current information. So let me go back over here to my numbers. There they are. So my numbers are showing New York Mets minus 115 and plus 105 for Baltimore. Is that where we are currently? Let's see. Nope, it's actually higher than that. So you're showing we're showing 127 at Circa, 123 at Bookmaker. And I'm only using those two because those guys set the lines. I don't care what MGM, Caesars, I don't care what any of those guys have. Because I'm not going to compare my number to sports books that are not the premium book that makes the number. They're just entertainment books, put it that way. So that doesn't mean I won't bet there. It just means that that when you're trying to figure out what the truest number should be or is, you need to look at the people that said it. And that's in that case is Bookmaker, who is Chris, and Circa, Pinnacle, those kind of places. They're the ones that make the numbers. Everybody else just copycats and follows along, right? So we said, what did we say? 123, 127. So that's like 125. So if I go and change this to New York Mets, where are they? New York Mets, not 115. We'll make them 125, and then we'll make them 115. That gives, because my number says Baltimore should be the favorite by minus 113. So now I'm at a point where I have an EV value of 14% on Baltimore. So that goes down on my sheet as you need to go check this out because that's a play. So then I go look at it, and what I came up with was there we go. So I'm looking at this game, and it's Kramer versus Quintana. Quintana's not any good. He's 12-12 as a starting pitcher, which is actually probably better than you might have thought. It's better than he's pitched. He's one of these soft tossers that, if he puts the ball in the right spot, he can get outs, right? That's what he does. And Kramer, on the other hand, he's made 17 starts, but he's 7-10. And anytime I think of a losing pitcher that pitches for a division-winning team, I don't really want to bet on that guy because there's a reason he's a losing pitcher. And it's usually not because he has good quality stuff, right? So then I start looking at it, and I swing it out, and I go, well, there's some stuff here that makes me think Baltimore might be okay. So the first thing I'm looking at is SOPS plus for Kramer. In his last 28 days is 89. So he's 11% better than an average pitcher. So I go, that's probably pretty good. And then Quintana's a 104. So he's basically average. 4% above average is basically average. So that means I might have a little bit better pitcher in Kramer than I do in the other side. So then I go, all right, well, pitchers are not quite the same. Maybe Quintana, being more veteran, can do some stuff in my head. I'm like, he's 12-12 for a reason. He's won 12 games. And Kramer's 7-10 for a reason. So let's just make that sort of even. So now I need an offensive edge. I need an offensive edge to bet Baltimore. So I'm like, well, that could be. I mean, Baltimore is good on offense. So then I switch this over and I flip it to my offense, and I look at an offense, and currently Baltimore is averaging 4.3 runs a game, which is kind of average-ish, maybe a little low average-ish. There's 30 runs in the last 7 games. But to give you an idea of where baseball and offense is, they rank 7th out of 30 teams. And they're not scoring any runs. They're 5th in weighted runs created plus. They got 3 guys that are helping their offense that are 1 WAR or above, and then they got 3 guys that are pulling it away. When you add up all those guys, and you go, okay, well, there's a 2.8, a 2.6, and a 2, and then you got a -1.5, -1.9, and a -2.1. They come out at 1.9 for their lineup. They're batters at 1.9 offensive WAR. Okay, so kind of in the middle of the pack. They should really be somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, not 7. That just tells you how bad offense is right now. Then I go and say, all right, 7's not bad. That maybe they got an edge. And then I go, oh shit, the New York Mets, 5.1 runs a game. They rank 1st in offense, 1st in isolated power, 37% better than an average offense. They got 6 guys. There we go. 6 guys that are 1 WAR or above, and only one guy pulling away. So I go, that's not an offensive edge that I wanted. I mean, the Mets have the offense, And Kramer's a bad pitcher that's pitching maybe good. So that turns me off on this game to bet aside. But just think about what we just said. We said we got two pitchers that are kind of average-ish, maybe not good. So when you start to think about it, and they're certainly hittable. So then you go and say, you got the seventh best offense in Baltimore, the first offense in New York. Well, shit, what's the total in this game? Well, the total is 8 or 8.5. Let me pull it back up. Over here. Here we go. The total is it's 8.5. Okay. No, wait. There it is. It's 8.5. So my numbers come out to my score predictor. Baltimore comes out to 5.4 runs for Baltimore, 5 runs for the Mets, 10 runs, 10.5. Okay. I'm okay with playing this game as an over. And the biggest thing to that is go and say, well, what happens when the starter comes out of the game? Well, in that particular case, you go look and evaluate the bullpens. And when Baltimore's bullpen comes in, 41 innings, 41 hits, and 8 home runs allowed. So they're not necessarily, shutting everybody down. And the Mets, 39 innings, 35 hits, only 1 home run. But they had 28 walks. So both bullpens, the Mets bullpen's been a little better. So that kind of makes me think the Mets might be more of the right side, even though I don't want to bet on the Mets because I think my numbers tell me it's the wrong thing to do. I think that the total is a better spot. So hopefully, Jay, that breakdown, the way I see it anyway, gives you some thought on what it is that you might want to do in that game. Did you have an opinion one way or the other? I don't know. You just asked me about what my thoughts were. So I don't know if you had a thought that you liked one side or if you liked a total or an under or whatever. Says thank you. So great. So no worries. So if we go look at the next thing down. So, okay, this is the play that I bet. I wanted to bet it last night, but I didn't do all the work last night. So I didn't bet it last night. So this is the Phillies at the Braves. And last night when this game opened, it was Wheeler minus 125. Then this morning it was minus 130. And then right now, this is why I say I don't know if we're going to be able to go and say, hey, let's make this a play. Where is it? So right now at Circa, it's Phillies minus 147. At Bookmaker, it's 154. So split the difference. That's 7. So 3. So we'll just say it's minus 150. Well, if you could have bet this game at 125 and 130 and now it's 150, you better have a number that you've made the game to be 200 or something. Because there's steam that moved this game to that number. My number on the game, I think, was 140. Where is it? 143. So my opinion would be is anything over 143, 145, it's probably too high. So and when you think about these games, and this is what I wanted, this is exactly what I wanted to tell you. When you go to the window, you need to have conviction in what you bet, and you're not guessing. Like I lose bets, but I'm not guessing at where my thought is. I'm not guessing at what I think is going to happen. I'm not guessing in any way, shape, or form when I walk up to that window or on my computer, push a button. I'm not guessing in any way, shape, or form. I feel real strong about what I'm doing. This is that game, and when you're we just talked about what was the game that popped up on us the Arizona Diamondbacks game. Well, we had an idea of what we liked, and then all of a sudden, bam, they put it on sale. You got to buy it. And then you start looking at some of these other games, and there's a reason why you're not to do this, a reason why you're not to do this. You got this, you got this. There's too much non-descriptive actions that could happen that could create this problem. Sure, you could get lucky and win, and people do that. They make all these bets all the time, and I see people make crazy bets and they win, but this is one of these spots that's different, and here's why. Let me start with this. So this made my short little list, right? Then I start with the day off, and I go, well, okay. Typed by accident. No worries, Jay. It's all good. I see. It's all good. And that is kind of funny, by the way. So as we're doing these things, right? 143, and at the beginning of the day it was 130. So I'm going, yeah, there's value here, right? So now I'm going to go and say, let me see what kind of situations we have. So we have the Phillies against the Braves. Now, the Phillies haven't been good in the last 20 days. In the last 20 days, the Phillies are 8-12. That's not very good for a division leader, right? That's not very good. The Braves, who are trying to run them down, are 10-10. That's not very good either for a team that's really trying to get there. So you got two scuttlebutt teams going on. But there are some variances here that are important to notify. One, the Phillies are starting Zach Wheeler tonight. Well, that's the best pitcher they got. And I know who you can talk about, Chris, whatever his name is, as being just as good. Not Noah, but the other guy. But the experience and the depth and former, top Cy Young kind of guy in Wheeler, he's an ace. You got an ace going tonight. And on the other side, you have Lopez. Now, Lopez is coming off the injured list. Remember, we talk about this. These are great spots to bet against a guy coming off the injured list. Why did he go on the injured list? Well, because he was injured. So did he go make all these starts? He didn't. He's coming off. He's healthy. He's going to go. So he's missed 3 weeks. He's going to pitch. Well, he's not the same pitcher as he was. It's going to take him 2 or 3 or 4 starts to get there. So you've got a down pitcher that's marketed as being the same pitcher he was before he went out. He's not. He's lower than that. So when you come in, you got and then when he did leave out, his last few starts weren't very good. I'm looking at Wheeler for the season. He's a 66 SOPS plus. He's 34% better than an average pitcher. That's pretty damn good for the whole season. And then in the last 28 days, he's a 71. So he's 29. So 29% better than average pitcher. That's pretty good. It's not always the best because that variable in that shorter time frame, you can see crazy stuff. And when you see crazy stuff, you want to bet on the crazy stuff. But 71 is really good. He's consistent. He's 75 on the road. He's a 63 at night. So he's Wheeler. He's an ace. That's what you want, right? So Lopez on the other side, I can't really give you his last 28 days because his last 28 days he's been on the disabled list. Prior to that, he was an 81, so he's 19% better than average pitcher. But that's still 20% off from where Wheeler was, 15 anyway. So he's a below pitcher to what Zach Wheeler is, no matter where you go. And then I start looking at this, and I'm like, all right, so where is this? So what's been the Achilles heel for the Braves all season? They can't hit. So when you look at it, they're -5 weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitchers. So then the Phillies are plus. They're +3. So you got a gap there. The Phillies are 44-31 against right-handed pitchers. So they're 13 games above 500 against right-handed pitchers. And when you look at the Braves, you'd go, well, shit, they got to be up there too. The Braves are 43 and 45. They're actually 2 games below 500 against right-handed pitchers. So you've got edges here, right? And those edges are starting to look pretty good. And then when you flip it over and you go, all right, let me look at these pitchers a little deeper. Well, I can't really get into Lopez because this is his first start back off the disabled list. But when you look at Wheeler, 3.46, 3.25 xFIP Sierra. Top 25% of all of baseball in the last 30 days. That's really good. You want a guy, and especially an ace that's doing this, okay, great. His whip rate, 0.94. That's awesome, right? It's going to be hard for the – and we just said the Braves can't hit, and now the Braves are going to have to go and face a guy that don't let anybody get on base. Well, that's pretty tough. And then strikeouts, 10.13 strikeouts per 9 innings for Wheeler. That's pretty good. So now you go balls in play edge, Philadelphia. Whip rate, guys getting on base, it's going to be towards Philadelphia. So let's look at the offense. Where's the offense at? Philadelphia is scoring 5.7 runs a game right now. They are second in offense. So they're starting to turn things around offensively where they were struggling for a little while. Now they're hitting. Perfect time to bet on them. They have 5 guys that are 1 WAR or above. 5 guys that are out there doing this. 1 guy pulling away. So that's a major impact when you got 5 guys in 9 that are hitting. And then you look at Atlanta, it's 2 and 2. You got 2 guys hitting, 2 guys not hitting. Atlanta, when you go and say, let's add them up all the way across the board, Atlanta's 2.8 to the good. All right, well, that's great. But that's not where Philadelphia is. Philadelphia is almost 10. So it's you got 9.6 WAR against 2.8 WAR. Holy cow, what a difference. And all you're doing is taking the guys in the lineup and how they're hitting and kind of stretching it out. It's a great way to look at certain value because you can see, okay, offensive WAR, they rank second. But then you break it out and look at it in a different way, and it's like they're 5 times better, 4 times better at least than the Braves. That also includes the idea that Austin Riley's in that group, right? Austin Riley got hurt last night, broke his hand. He's gone. Matter of fact, he's gone for the whole rest of the season. Ozzie Albies isn't playing. I don't know what's their lineup even going to look like tonight. Let's look, just because I don't know what it's going to look like. So let's see. Baseball. There we go. Bang. They should have a lineup in here. There we go. Game day. So let's see what the Braves lineup looks like. It's going to be Harris. Harris is going to play center field. They just got him back. Laureano is going to play right field. Okay, well, that's nothing crazy. Great. Ozuna's batting third. He's been the guy that's carried that whole team all season. Then you got Olsen, Murphy, Kalanick, Arcia, and they just signed Urshela, so he's going to play, and Merrifield. What the hell? Now, Merrifield's a backup player. Urshela's a backup player. Murphy plays and Darrenad plays, so there's kind of a shared spot. Laureano's a backup player, so they got four or five backup players in this lineup, and then you look at what's the Phillies throwing out there: Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Castellano, Stott, Realmuto, Marsh, and Rojas. That's their A+ lineup with their A+ pitcher, and that is what I mean by when you go to the window and go, this is the bet. This is it. Certainly they can lose. Any of these teams can lose. But you're going there with the idea that I have advantages everywhere. I'm going to make this bet and move on, and let's get this win, right? This might even be a game that you go and say, there's not a whole lot of games I'm going to step out on, but this is one of them, right? because there's a difference in what we just expressed with the Phillies than there is in the game that we talked about with the Diamondbacks, that we talked about with the Reds, with some of this other stuff, right? This is that spot. And these are the things you're looking for. How many of those, quote, spots can you find and bet in a day? Maybe you find one, maybe you find two. And throughout the season, you're going to find one or two of those spots to bet. As these games start winding down, you're going to find them once in a while. But when you do find them, make sure that you hit them, and don't be afraid to hit them a little extra hard, because look, we're trying to make some money, and when you have a valuable spot, you got to hit it and you got to bet it, and if you catch it early enough, you can bet it at the best numbers and let everybody else pay the higher price, right? There's no need to chase the steam here. But look, I'm telling you, there's a reason why this game is good, and we just kind of went over it. So hopefully that stuff makes sense, and hopefully that stuff kind of resonates with the idea being that we're in the middle of August, towards the end of August. These games, some have a way more meaning than others, and this is the Phillies trying to keep the Braves down because the Braves are the next team in line, right? And over the last couple of years in the playoffs, who's knocked the Braves out? It's been the Phillies. The Phillies kind of have their number, and this is Wheeler. I like it, right? Against Lopez coming back off the disabled, all of it, and that's where you go and you go, this is it. So if you want to play that game, as long as you're not paying more than 145, I'm okay with it. But you could have had it at 25 last night when it opened. I almost did it with a sight unseen. I almost bet it. And I'm like, nah, I got to do the work. So I bet it at 130 this morning and put it out before anything. My guys will tell you, a lot of times what I do is I put out all the reports and put out all the stuff, and then I go through it all, make my bets. But that's not what happened this morning. This morning, I vetted that game. That was my hot button, and I bet it this morning, and I put it out there for them, and hopefully they got into it and were able to bet it. And then I put out all the reports and all the other stuff that goes with it. So anyway, so that was what I wanted to try to express and show. Hopefully that came across pretty clear. Another spot here that may or may not be of interest, and one of the things I was looking at was you have Milwaukee and St. Louis. And Milwaukee's the team that's leading the division. St. Louis is kind of a 500-ish team, and they're not really trying to track anybody down. They might make the playoffs, they might not. My thought is they're not. At this point, I think the Cubs just passed them, so it could be that the Reds catch them and pass them. So they're not the best team. They're certainly not a bad team. I mean, 500 is not the worst thing in the world. But they play the Brewers. They're at home, and you got Montas and Fetty. So it's a little scary on the pitchers because Montas, at least he throws the ball 96 miles an hour. Fetty doesn't throw that hard. Fetty found himself when he went to I think he came from Korea. And found out how to pitch over there, and then he came back over, and he's been pretty good. He was pretty good for the White Sox, but since he's been with the Cardinals, he hasn't been good. So you might think, okay, well, he hasn't been good, and he's due to have a good start, which is true. It works that way. So my number on this game, when I made this game, I have St. Louis minus 103. So not a big number. And this morning it was St. Louis minus 118. Let's see, where's the number now? This is St. Louis 116, say 117. So it's kind of the same number. So St. Louis minus 117. So if it's St. Louis minus 117, I think they should be St. Louis minus 103. That means you have some value in betting on the Milwaukee side. So let's go bet that, right? So that was one of the things I did. I went over here and I started looking at this, and I'm like, all right, Fetty over his last 30 days, 507 xFIP, 483 Sierra, 605 FIP. Worst 25% of all of baseball, which we just said he was struggling ever since he became a thing. Oh, Jay Berry says your website tools are excellent. Hey Jay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Sometimes feedback like that goes a long way. Sometimes you put stuff out there and you don't. I know. Look, I know some guys just want what I bet, but my goal with this whole thing is to help people learn how to bet and what good bets look like, because there's 30 teams, 15 games, bunch of lines move, this happens, that happens. How do you know what to do, right? Do you follow the steam on games? All those bets were being, or whatever was going on that people were betting on Miami. Well, why would you do that? Do you want to follow that? Like there's stuff that happens. So as you're doing all this stuff, right, you kind of figure this stuff out, and that's hopefully those things are helpful and stuff as we go. I think the show probably helps with that a lot. For me to type out all what I'm saying, I typed out a lot of stuff, but it kind of helps the show wise to express some of those things. But thank you, I appreciate that, Jay. And looking at this game, right? So Fetty's not good. He's been giving up home runs. That's been his problem. And I looked at it and I go, all right, well, does Milwaukee hit home runs? Well, the truth is they really don't. They do. I mean, they got home run hitters, but that's not what's driving their offense. Milwaukee is 22nd in offense. They're only scoring 3.7 runs a game. So I go and say, can they really, really capitalize? Do we really have an edge there? The truth is that St. Louis is 18th in offense and Milwaukee's 22nd in offense. So, and they're kind of, going down that line of the 9 players. Milwaukee's minus now, not plus, minus 1.8 WAR with their batters, and St. Louis is minus 2.2. So it's even. You got an even offense. The bullpens are a little different. The bullpen kind of has an edge to Milwaukee in a sense that they've thrown 41 innings, only giving up 29 hits. That's good. And St. Louis 34 innings and 35 hits. That's not good. So you've got a little bit of an edge when it comes to the bullpen. But if you grade a pitcher by WAR and kind of what their projected WAR numbers look like, Montas is like a 1.2, 1.3 for the whole season. That's kind of where he's at. Fetty's a 3. He's been really good. He's a 3. He's virtually 3 times better pitcher than Montas. So that turned me away from making that bet. Now, having said that, there is value to bet on the Milwaukee Brewers on that side. If you don't have that risk aversion thing, right? Like my thing is when I go to that damn window, boy, I'm convicted in what I want to play, and I'm not guessing. My opinion is this is a play you can make, but you're sort of guessing. So I pass on a play like this where other people might not. So that's kind of why I'm talking about it and sharing it with you guys. So that was that game. And then Pittsburgh showed up on my list. They were immediately crossed off. I can't bet on a team where you've got Keller against Bradford and Mitch Keller. He's made 24 starts. He's won 16. They're 16-8 when he starts. So that's automatic to go and say, I need to go look at this. Bradford, on the other hand, this is, I think, his third starter. It's like his third start, 4th start maybe, off the disabled list. And he's 5-1 in 6 starts. Well, okay, I can't really compete with that either. So as I'm kind of looking at it, then I go, Well, you got SOPS plus of 115 for Keller. So he's not been his A game. He's 15% worse than an average pitcher. But I looked at Bradford and I go, how's he 5-1? His SOPS plus is a 133, 33% worse at controlling the opponent's offense than an average guy, and he's 5-1. So I sit there and go, all right, there's got weird stuff happening. The Pirates don't hit, neither does Texas. So this could be a pitching kind of spot here. So I looked at it and go, all right, well, where are these guys at right now? What's going on? So the Pirates in their last 20 games, they've only won 6. They're 6-14 in the last 20 games. Well, shit, the Rangers are 7-13. So there's this thing, right? And we talked about it at the beginning of the show. The Pirates aren't making the playoffs. The Rangers aren't making the playoffs. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So what kind of variance do you get in play in this game? Could be a lot. So even though I think there's probably value on the Pittsburgh side, because I think Keller is kind of being undergraded in this game. What was my number? Why do I say that? Let me pull this up so that we get a better number. So my number on this game was Texas minus 104. Texas minus 104. And the actual number at the time that I loaded this in here was Texas minus 135. So you could get Pittsburgh at plus 125, and I think they should be 104. That's a 10% EV positive play. That's one of those spots where you go, I don't know, let's go look at it. So as it is, where is it now? Texas and Pittsburgh is 137, 143. So it's like 140. So it's like Texas minus 140. So that's even more, right? Yeah. Where is it? Texas. 135 to 140. Holy crap. 140, that makes it 130. You're looking at a 12.9% EV positive play to be betting on Pittsburgh. It just doesn't line up the way like what I showed you with Philadelphia, right? And the Phillies, it doesn't match up that way. So you look at the offense in this game. Pittsburgh scoring 3.3 runs a game. They are 23rd in offense. Do you want to bet on that? The 23rd ranked offense? And then the Texas Rangers are scoring 4.3 runs a game, and they rank 20th. You got the two teams in the bottom third of offense. You've got one pitcher that's probably a little better than the other one. I would say Keller's probably better than Bradford. But neither team's winning any of these games. I just go and say that play's gone. But the value is there if you wanted to bet on Pittsburgh. So this food for thought, right? We talk about it. You want to bet value when you're betting Major League Baseball. And I just think that, when you get down to this time of season, the reality is that nobody cares whether they win this game or not. They got to play them again tomorrow. And really, when the Pirates play, nobody cares unless Skeens is pitching, right? Well, they're going to be shutting him down soon. So who knows? All right. So anyway, that was a spot. So let's find something else. What else do we got going on for today's games? Detroit and Chicago, I didn't really do much work on this game at all because, again, you're in that same spot. Chicago maybe could make the playoffs, maybe. We'll see. They're certainly, I don't think, going to catch the Milwaukee Brewers. Milwaukee Brewers haven't made it. I mean, they got like an 11-game lead. So I don't think there's any issues there. I don't like Assad, even though Assad's pitching better. And, who knows what Detroit's doing, these openers and all these guys that try to pitch, they don't have any starting pitchers. They're all hurt. So I don't like this game at all. So I didn't do a lot of work on it. Kansas City and the Angels was kind of an interesting thing because everybody wants to bet the Royals, and I don't blame them. I mean, you want to bet the Royals. The Royals are trying to track down the Guardians, and then now they're within 2 games, 2.5. Same with the Twins. They got the same record. Both of them are just right there at the doorstep of the Guardians. And this is a spot where I think, the Royals are going to win this game. Ragans is on the mound, but he's facing Anderson. Anderson has been the best Angels pitcher this season. So the line on the game made it. Where's the numbers? My number on the game, I have 241, and earlier it was like 200. I don't know, what is it now. Whoops. Where is it? There it is. So right now it's 192, 190. So 191, say. So Kansas City minus 191. Do you really want to pay 191? I'm going to tell you that if you want to play it, that's how you have to play it. And at 241 and 191, that was my number. There is EV positive on it, but I'm not going to go bet minus 191 unless I think they're absolutely a stone lock to win this game. And my concern is, and it's a big concern, is Anderson, because let me get to my pictures. There we are. So I get to my pictures and I start looking at this game, situational, and I look at it. Over the course of the season, Anderson's an 88 SOPS plus, 12% better than the average pitcher. Well, Ragans, he's dynamite. Like, he's in the top 5 of all the pitchers. He's a top 5 pitcher, but he's young, hasn't figured out how to win games yet. He's made 25 starts, only won 13 times. He's 13-12. And Anderson, veteran, been around forever, had good seasons with the Dodgers, hasn't had great seasons with the Angels. But he's 12-12, 24 starts, 12-12. So theoretically, when they go out and pitch like this, and one guy wins 12 guys, one guy wins 13 guys, kind of the same guy. Certainly not the same guy when it comes to stuff and movement and velocity and all of that. Anderson's going to throw 91, 92 miles an hour, maybe 93 at the most. Ragans is going to come up to close to 100. So it's way different. But performance-wise, it's not the same. And what's interesting is the Royals are 12-12 against left-handed pitchers. They don't see them that often. And they are minus 7% weighted runs created plus against left-handed pitchers. That means they're 7% worse than an average offense. So that throws a wrinkle into where I think you can capitalize on the Royals today. I think that like yesterday, I thought the Royals were a great play, and they were, right? Today, I don't think they're an amazing spot. The Royals are offensively. The Royals right now are third in offense. They're scoring 6.7 runs a game. That's a ton. That's great. But they haven't been doing that against left-handed pitchers. And that's what they faced today. And they're being driven by 2 guys. Bobby Witt Jr. is one of them. So as they're doing this, the Angels aren't hitting at all. They're 26th in offense. They're only scoring 2.2 runs a game. So do you trust Ragans enough to shut down that offense, who, by the way, against left-handed pitching, they don't do good against right-handed pitching. They're below average. But against left-handed pitching, they are average. They're 0. Weighted runs created plus is 0, which means they are right at that number. They're not below average or above average. And now you're going to take that against a team in the Royals, who are below average against lefties. So I just thought it was too high of a number. So, and then I looked at it in terms of where my score predictor came out, and there it is over there. Holy crap. My score predictor comes out, and it says in the first 5 innings, Kansas City 2 and Los Angeles Angels 1.9. Okay, well, there's no value in that. And then the game is Kansas City 4 and the Angels 3.8. Well, I go and say, well, that's out the door then. There's no value in that play. And run line, all that stuff, gone. So I know people are going to go out there and they're going to bet the Royals today. I know they're going to bet them on the first 5. I know they're going to bet them on the run line. They're going to do that because they don't want to pay minus 190. And that's why I said at the beginning of this kind of breakdown, if you want to bet the Royals, you're going to need to pay minus 190, because I don't know that they're going to cover that number. I know that it all sounds silly and all that stuff, especially when I just said they score 6 runs a game and the other team's only scoring 2. Look, it matters who's pitching, and it matters the scenario and the spots. And this is not the spot to be betting the Royals on the run line. Anyway, that all being said, let's see if we can find something else to talk about. So hopefully some of this stuff that I'm kind of breaking down, I don't like to go through every single game like this, but I'm trying to share with you food for thought ideas, my thoughts about why I didn't bet something and I bet on something else, right? So this next game is Houston and Boston. This is a spot that I think you can bet. Now, this is Houston on the Houston side. So originally this morning when I started putting this stuff together, Houston was minus 124. My number was 110. So I'm looking at this going, well, wait a minute. Why would you tell them to go bet that if your number's right there? Because it's pretty close. It's not an EV positive bet. So then let's see, where is it now? Houston is Houston. There we go. So Houston right now is minus 105. So it's basically a pick 'em, right? Houston at minus 105 when it was 124. My number says 110. There you go. There's where your value comes in. So people are betting on Boston. So let's go see where we can figure out what's going on with this game. So situationally, I looked at this, and you got Pivetta on the mound. Pivetta's made 19 starts. He's 110. So he's a 500 pitcher. But when he's on, he's really good. When he's off, he's terrible. But he's 10-9. Blanco's made 23 starts, won 16 times, 16-7. Okay, well, that means I'm on that, looking at that side more than I'm looking at the Red Sox side. And then when I'm looking at SOPS plus for the last 28 days, Pivetta's a 143. 143. He's 43% worse than an average pitcher. That's not very good. He's getting hit. And then I look at Blanco. He's a 75. So he's 25% better than an average pitcher. And then Blanco at home, he's a 64. 36% better than average pitcher. That's good. That's good enough for me to sit here and go, I like this so far. What else can we discover with these games? You can't. Both teams hit against right-handed pitchers. Both teams are good against righties. The difference kind of is in the last 10 games, the Houston Astros are 9-1 in the last 10 games. 9-1. And they're 13-7 in the last 20. They're making a push. And the Red Sox, they're 10-10 in the last 20 games, not really gaining anywhere, not going anywhere. Bullpen's terrible. And that's a big benefit for Houston. Then offensively, you look at it, and you go, offensive WAR, Boston is 6th, so a little bit good, and Houston is 10th. So then I looked at it and go, well, weighted runs created plus, the difference is 10% to the good for Boston, 4% to the good for Houston. So even though they're 6-10, that gap's not very big. The gap is, what is it, 6%? That's not it. And then both teams have 4 guys over offensive WAR 1. And Houston only has 2 guys kind of pulling away. Boston has 5. So now I'm going, well, that means, Houston's guys are going to be more productive than Boston's guys. What's the deal? Well, when I pull it up and I look at the pitchers and I see it, Pivetta's been really good. He's in the top 25% in metrics. And I just said his SOPS plus. So why is his metrics so good and his SOPS plus is so bad? It's because 3.79 home runs per 9 innings. He's getting crushed on home runs. So if he's getting hammered on home runs, you need a team that can hit home runs, and the Astros can hit home runs. So I sit here and go, that's not a bad spot. You can play that game. They hit a walk-off. Yesterday. These are spots the Astros want to win. They want to keep Seattle behind them, and they know Seattle's playing the Dodgers, so this can be a big gap, right? They can stretch that gap and keep it going and they're doing it. So there's a little bit of value there. So I think Houston is the right side. I think Houston's good in this spot, at least marginally in there. And here's another spot that's kind of interesting, right? So the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays. What's the difference between those two teams? Not very much. When it comes to it, let me pull up my rankings here. There they are. So I have the Tampa Bay Rays at a winning percentage of .468, which is 76 wins. The Oakland A's are .457. Not much difference there. And 74 wins. So one team 74, one team 76. They're right there together. They're very similar. And you saw that yesterday. Taj Bradley pitched, and it was 3-0. The A's won that game, right? So today's matchup, you get Shane Baz, and you have Estes on the mound. Well, both pitchers are in the worst 25% when it comes to metrics. 4.98, 4.79 xFIP, real close to each other. 4.91, 4.65, real close to each other. Shane Baz's problem is 4.15 walks per 9 innings, putting guys on base. His whip rate, where is he? His whip rate 1.42 is kind of high. It's not that elite high, but it's high. His hard hit rate's 41%. You don't want that. You want a lower hard hit rate and lower guys getting on base. So then I started looking at it and go, well, where's the offenses for these two teams? The Oakland A's are 8th on offense. The Tampa Bay Rays are 24th on offense. Big difference. But it's not the biggest difference that you might think, because isolated power means a lot. And right now, even though the offensive WAR number for Oakland is 8, their isolated power is 28. They're not hitting the ball out of the yard right now. They're not hitting damaging blows. They got to work to score. Well, that helps their offense that Shane Baz is going to put guys on base, right? He walks guys. So then I looked at it and go, well, Tampa Bay, they're 29th in isolated power. All right, well, that kind of matches up that way. So I'd say Oakland's got the better offense, right? So then I look at the number and the line, and the number and the line on the game. And if I look at it live right now, where is it? You're at 116, 115. So we'll just say it's 115 for Tampa Bay on the road. Well, I just said that's kind of like real even with the two teams. The pitchers, the way that the WAR kind of goes the projected WAR number for the rest of the season, Baz is like a 1, and Estes is like a 1. No difference. So now you got a home field edge that goes to Oakland, even though it's not really a big, it's not a stadium effect edge where you have fans and all that stuff. You have a travel situation for Tampa Bay. So it kind of levels things out. It's like a pick 'em kind of game, which then kind of my numbers showed that, but my numbers showed a little bit of a favor towards Oakland. My number in this game was, what was my number in this game? Oakland. My number was Oakland minus 108, and we just said it was Tampa Bay minus 115. So, there's a 6% edge to Oakland. So I don't have a problem with people wanting to bet that edge, right? I think that's a good edge. Now, here's a game that I think people are totally missing the boat on, and I get it. Look, I watched the Dodgers last night, and man, when Max Muncy's back, when Betts is back, Smith is there. Oh my God. You got Ohtani, and then Betts, and then Freeman, and then Teoscar Hernandez, and right now Lux is hitting, and then you add Muncy back to that lineup. Look, they're deep, then they hit, and they're fun to watch. They really are, because they can turn an inning around and bang, 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 and they got 5 runs just like that. And as Muncy kind of gets his feet back under him and look, this team's going to take off again. Their problem is they got to find some pitchers, and that's the problem tonight. Tonight is a problem. They're favored like minus 145. That's what it was this morning. Let's see where is it now? 150, 160, no, 155, 160. So, they're getting up there. So I think there's value on the Seattle side tonight. And I know it sounds stupid by saying that, but Walker Buehler's on the mound. Walker Buehler hasn't pitched well, and he's given up lots of runs, and he's been hit. Doesn't strike out anybody anymore. He's not the Walker Buehler of 2 years ago or when he was called up. He's not that guy. Miller, who's pitching for Seattle, he's due for a bad spot because he's been really, really, really good. But I can't sit here and tell you that it's going to be tonight. But so just in terms of value, you have the Dodgers who are just, one of the best teams in baseball, really high winning percentage. I think 96 wins, not 96 wins. Where's my number at for them? Bum, bum, bum. Here we go. 96 wins, 592 winning percentage, right? And then, but Seattle, they're 86 wins, 530 winning percentage. So, and then the Dodgers are at home. So, yeah, they should have a value there. But here's what happens. Miller is an over 3 WAR pitcher, and Buehler is a less than a half a pitcher. He's not a 1. He's like a half. So that's a dramatic effect difference on the line that's not being affected in this particular spot. It doesn't show that. So when I sit here and see it, I go, this is the Dodgers are too much value too high. So I think you can play Seattle if you can grit your teeth and bear it because they don't hit, right? Where's my numbers on what they're doing right now? They don't hit. Offense. Seattle, dead last, 30th. It's hard to bet on the worst offense in baseball. It just is, but there's value there. It's interesting. They got 7 batters out of their 9 guys that are pulling against their offense. That's not good. It's just not good. And the Dodgers are showing only 3 guys to the good right now, but that's going to change with Muncy and all these other guys coming on. They're going to go. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. I kind of went through most of the games. Where are we at with that one game that we had? Where is it? Let's see. We had Arizona that popped up on us, and they're ahead 1-0, so that's not terrible. Remember, we talked about Cincinnati's game, right? It's 1-1. Talked about that Colorado-Washington game. Who knows what's going to happen? Colorado's ahead 1-0. End of the first inning, we got 2 in Baltimore. So Jay and Over's looking pretty good after one inning. So we'll see. Doesn't look like the Phillies scored in the first inning. So we'll see how that game plays out. So anyway, guys, have a great night. I will be back tomorrow, 6:15. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff to break down. And, maybe I won't go over every single game kind of like today. But I think it's important sometimes for you to see why I didn't do certain things or what my thoughts are on certain stuff. So close down the show the way I kind of always do. Look, follow me on Twitter. I know I say this all the time, but I don't get any new follows. Follow me on Twitter, and it helps. I don't care personally how many followers I have. It's about getting the show out, right? It's about advertising, if you want to call it that. So follow me on Twitter, retweet the shows, make comments, hit the like buttons, hit the subscribe buttons, do all that stuff because, we got another 160, 170 people on the show right now. That's great. We're growing this thing. This thing is growing. And we had 300 here on Sunday. Couldn't believe it. So it's not that I can't believe we have that many people. It's because it was Sunday. So as we're doing these things, it's growing, it's working, right? So follow me on Twitter, do those things. Please, please, please go out and retweet and make comments and get stuff out so people see it. And as you're doing that stuff, go to my website. If you want more information, there's a lot of stuff there. It's mlb-daily.com. If you want to become a member or a client or get the data and all the stuff that we do here on the show, it costs you $100. Just click the button. It's for a whole year, right? I don't sit here and try to. If you can't afford $100, then you shouldn't be gambling and doing all this stuff in the first place. So anyway, it's not trying to be anything like shameful, but I'm not trying to make money on this that way. And so as we do this stuff, we're trying to grow this. We're trying to get producers. We're trying to get we're trying to invest into the show, right? So help us out, help us grow, help us do all those things. And I will see you tomorrow at 6:15, and let's get some winners in tonight. That would be very helpful. All right, guys, talk to you tomorrow. See you later. Have a great night.